Electoral Commission has confirmed that 53 voter registration sites did not open on time today. The Commission says it was due to disruptions caused by service delivery protests. Voter registration for the 1st November polls kicked off at 8 a.m. Let's take you now to the IECs. Simon Mabolo, he's the Chief Electoral Officer. Good evening and thank you so much for your time tonight. Mabolo, look, I suppose one of the challenges that you're going to have going into tomorrow is trying to anticipate where the upset communities who want to stage protests, where those protests will be held and what it is that you can do to ensure it doesn't interfere with the work and the mandate that you have.
Well, our message to those communities is if you have any grievance, the best way to address it is by participating and electing whomever you believe is the right candidate to deliver on your own aspirations. So democracy is really about participating and not disrupting processes. So we hope that that message will get through to our communities who are affected, so that they may allow the registration process to proceed without hindrance tomorrow.
What is the general approach by the IEC to these protests? Today we saw residents that were standing outside of the registration center. Nobody was allowed to go in and out, at least not the residents who would have wanted to check on their details.
Well, our approach is to work with the security establishment of the country to ensure that we allow those who are keen on registering to do so, and perhaps those that do not wish to register, not to prevent others from registering. Of course, we can't do it in a high-handed manner. We've got to ensure that we respect people's rights to protest, whilst at the same time we need to ensure that those who are keen on registering are given an unfettered access to voting stations.
How do you think this impacts then on people actually coming out to register to vote in these wards, specifically where there have been protests?
Well, it's inimical to the free participation of people, which is why our message is always that protest, but don't do it in such a manner as to negate the rights of others, those that wish to take part in the elections. And we hope that the local leadership of political parties, the local leadership in municipal councils would have engaged with those communities by the time we have to reopen tomorrow morning.
You're facing a situation where the discontent is only going to continue to grow. And, I suppose in some ways, this final voter registration weekend becomes a litmus test of sort, where sentiment on the ground, sentiment of the electorate and of South Africans can be well gauged. Does that make you worried about what lies ahead in as far as the elections are concerned and the disruptions that you may face there?
Well, our experience is that these types of disruptions happen during the registration weekend and not so much on election day. And we hope that that does not change for the worse, that tomorrow people will be allowed to go register, and that even more importantly, people will be allowed to go and vote on the 1st of November after they have registered.
Mr. Mabolo, we're also dealing with a great deal of voter apathy and some people just saying, well, I'm just not going to register to vote because I don't see the importance of voting because my life hasn't changed for the past 20 years and I don't think it's going to change. How do you convince those people that their vote is still worthwhile, that voting is still something worthwhile to do in this democracy?
Our message to people who hold views such as those is that you have to participate precisely because you are disaffected. The best way to resolve your issue is to participate in the process. And by exercising your right to choose whomsoever you feel is competent enough to deliver on the community aspirations you hold. By not participating, you are in fact giving those that you may not wish them to be in leadership to actually do so. So your answer really is not staying away. Your answer is registering and then carefully selecting whoever you think will better express your aspirations within a municipal council.
Of course, you also had problems today with some of the machinery that you're using, the new machinery. What happened?
Well, that machine has actually stood us in good stead, despite the fact that we have had to operate for some time in the day in an offline mode. But that has been part of the plan and of the contingency we had built around the process. That there are places where there is a broadband, and there are places where there wouldn't be a broadband. And we have had to go off broadband consciously in the morning because there was a glitch, a technical glitch on our mapping functionality. But that didn't mean there was service interruption because we are able to operate offline. And we did that during the time when we didn't have access to broadband. That has been part of the inborn processes in the technology.
Are you expecting the same problem to continue tomorrow?
Well, Kate, when you work with technology, you know, there are vagaries that are attendant to the use of technology. One can never say absolutely it will never happen because in the technological ecosystem, many things can go wrong. The point of the matter is this: if that materializes, we are able to proceed working, and that's the point. No one will be turned away because we are offline. That's not the point. We'll be able to function throughout.
Was this equipment sufficiently tested before, actually being used?
Yes, indeed. It's been tested in a number of by-elections. The latter by-elections we've had, it's been used in our training programs and so on. Of course, the scale always makes the difference. Never used on such scale before.
Do you think that's part of what has led to the problem?
No, the problem is not related to scale. The problem is related to a mapping functionality, the interface with the mapping functionality, which was slowing the processing of the data. That's what we've been confronted with.
All right. Simon Mabolo, he is the IEC's Chief Electoral Officer. You can expect to hear much more from them throughout the weekend. Tomorrow, day 2 of the voter registration weekend continues. It's important to remember, however, you don't have to go to a voting station to be able to register to vote. You can do that from the comfort of your home online. Make sure that your details are updated and that you are able to exercise your right to vote in the upcoming local government elections.